Why would airports around the world knowingly introduce a rule in 2026 that almost every traveler already hates, complains about, and swears is unnecessary? Even though airport authorities absolutely knew the backlash was coming before the first sin went up at the terminal entrance. Think about that for a second. Because this isn't just about longer lines or stricter checks or one more annoying step between you and your gate. This is about something much deeper that most travelers never see, never hear explained, and honestly, were never meant to understand in plain language. And I know that sounds dramatic, but stay with me, because once you see the full picture, you'll realize this rule wasn't created because airports suddenly became control-obsessed or because security agencies wanted to make your life harder for fun. It was created because the entire rhythm of global travel quietly broke over the last few years, and 2026 is the year airports finally admit it. See, airports are not reacting to what travelers do today. They are reacting to patterns they've already watched fail behind the scenes. Patterns involving human behavior, automated systems, biometric confidence scores, time compression, travel habits, and something insiders call silent non-compliance, which is a fancy way of saying people look like they're following the rules while actually bypassing them in small ways that stack up into massive security blind spots. And here's the uncomfortable truth most people won't say on YouTube, the hated 2026. Airport rule exists because travelers became too efficient for the old systems to detect risk properly. Sounds crazy, right? But efficiency is the problem, not chaos. Airports discovered that faster check-ins, mobile boarding passes, pre-screening programs, digital IDs, and self-service kiosks removed so much human friction that security algorithms stopped learning anything useful. Behavior became too clean, too predictable, too fast. And when systems can't detect hesitation, confusion, correction, or resistance, they also can't flag anomalies. So airports started missing the wrong people while annoying the right ones. And that scared them more than public complaints ever could, especially after internal audits showed that higher-risk behaviors weren't happening at security checkpoints anymore. They were happening before and after them, in moments the system no longer monitored. Like bag repacking zones, restroom transitions, gate area swaps, and biometric re-verification gaps. And when analysts mapped these blind zones, they realized the airport experience had turned into a Swiss cheese of unchecked transitions. Smooth on the surface, but full of holes underneath. And that's where the 2026 rule comes in, because it forces friction back into specific moments of the journey. Not randomly, but strategically. Moments where humans reveal stress, intent, or inconsistency without realizing it, which is why the rule feels oddly timed, strangely placed, and emotionally irritating. It's meant to interrupt autopilot behavior. And yes, airports hate that you hate it, but they hate invisible risk more. And here's where most commentary online gets it wrong. They say it's about control, or surveillance, or revenue, but that's surface-level thinking. The real driver is behavioral recalibration. Airports realize travelers changed faster than security philosophy did, especially post-pandemic. People travel differently now. They multitask through terminals, they trust apps more than signage, they listen to headphones instead of instructions. They move in social clusters rather than linear cues, and all of that reduces observable intent. So the new rule forces travelers to re-engage consciously with the environment. Too slow just enough for systems to read them again, and that's why it feels unfair if you're a frequent flyer, because it targets competence, not confusion. Frequent travelers trigger it more because they move too smoothly, too confidently. And ironically, that confidence is now flagged as a variable needing verification. Not because frequent flyers are suspicious, but because their predictability blinds systems. And let me tell you something, airport insiders won't say publicly. They tested softer alternatives first: signage changes, app alerts, passive prompts, voluntary compliance steps. None of it worked. People ignored them, flew through them, optimized around them. So the 2026 rule is blunt by design, not elegant, not polite, but effective at creating micro-pauses that generate usable data. And this is where technology quietly changed the game. Modern airport security isn't looking for prohibited items anymore. That's old thinking. Machines already do that well. They're looking for behavioral contradictions, things like mismatched pacing, repeated route corrections, inconsistent biometric confirmation timing. And the hated rule creates the conditions where those contradictions surface naturally, not through interrogation, but through process. And if you're thinking this sounds invasive, you're not wrong. But it's also the reason the rule went global instead of regional. Because once one major hub adopted it, interconnected risk modeling meant others had to follow or become weak links. And weak links are unacceptable in a world where airports are no longer isolated facilities, but nodes in a global behavioral network. And this is the part that makes travelers angry when they finally hear it. You're not being screened as an individual anymore. You're being screened as a data pattern moving through a system that remembers how patterns failed before. Even if you personally did nothing wrong, and airports know explaining that would cause outrage. So they don't. They frame it as enhanced safety or streamlined compliance, which feels insulting because it is incomplete, but not entirely false. And yes, revenue plays a secondary role. It always does. Friction creates opportunities for monetization. But if this were just about money, airports wouldn't willingly absorb the staffing costs, infrastructure retrofits, and political heat this rule caused. They'd choose easier profit levers. So when you hear people say this rule makes no sense, what they really mean is this rule doesn't respect my experience as a competent traveler. And that emotional reaction is valid, but it doesn't change the math behind why it exists, because airports operate on risk probability curves, not fairness. And those curves shifted sharply after analysts noticed something disturbing. The majority of serious security failures didn't come from obvious threats. They came from routine travelers exploiting efficiency without malicious intent, forgetting steps, swapping items, misidentifying bags, walking into restricted flows by accident. And those accidents exposed how fragile, seamless travel actually is. So the 2026 rule is a hard reset. A forced acknowledgement that frictionless travel went too far, too fast, and broke the system's ability to see clearly. And here's the twist nobody talks about. Once travelers adapt to this rule, and they will, airports will quietly relax it. But not remove it, because its true value isn't permanent enforcement. It's recalibration, retraining both humans and machines to read each other again. And if you're watching this thinking, so what do I do now? That's the right question. Because fighting the rule emotionally only makes your experience worse. The smarter move is learning how to move with it, not against it. Slow down at the moments designed to slow you. Keep your documents and digital passes consistent across apps. Avoid last-minute gate area changes unless necessary. Don't over-optimize your movement through checkpoints. And most importantly, treat the process like a conversation, not an obstacle, because systems read cooperation more than compliance. And if you want to travel smoother in 2026 and beyond, the real hack isn't bypassing the rule. It's understanding why it exists and letting it work without triggering unnecessary friction. And if this kind of deep, honest airport truth actually helped you see travel differently today, then my suggestion is simple. Stay connected with Golden Age travel tips, because this channel isn't about blaming airports or glorifying inconvenience. It's about giving you the real reasons, the unseen mechanics, and the smart traveler mindset that lets you move through the world calmer, faster, and more informed than everyone else stuck complaining in line.